Kanye's 3-album run of the College Dropout, Late Registration and Graduation is completely unmatched in the world of hip-hop. These albums defined an era of hip-hop and helped him cement his Chipmunk soul sound. In this video I'm going to dig deeper into that sound, explore the samples that inspired it, and show you step by step how to make a sample in that style. And to wrap things up, I'll show you through the process of flipping it into a beat that captures the essence of early 2000s Kanye. So before Kanye helped to redefine the sound of hip-hop in the noughties, he really struggled to get his foot in the door as more of a behind-the-scenes producer. But determined to prove himself, he worked on a unique style that would eventually end up changing the game. And there's a famous clip of Kanye going to the Def Jam offices with his debut album College Dropout and trying to play it to people, and nobody was interested.
Let me play you some stuff.
The first time I heard Kanye's music, I thought it would win Grammys. But Rockefeller just wouldn't take him seriously as a rapper.
However, when he did break through with this sound that was completely new, blending raw emotion, nostalgic soul samples, and modern production techniques in a way that redefined what hip-hop could sound like. Now, the term Chipmunk soul comes from its resemblance to the high-pitched vocals of Alvin and the Chipmunks, and it might have started as a joke, but over time it caught on as it became popular in hip-hop, blending sped-up old soul samples with really hard-hitting drums. So like I said, the main process of Chipmunk soul is speeding up and pitching up old samples. And by blending the nostalgia of those old records with those hard-hitting drums that you get in hip-hop, it really re-energized the genre. But I do also have to note that Kanye wasn't the first person to do this. Before him, you already had producers like RZA and DJ Premier experimenting with a similar sort of technique. And at the same time as Kanye was coming up, you also had Jess Blaze, who was doing lots of stuff with Roc Nation as well. And obviously we can't forget No ID, who was Kanye's mentor and taught him so much of his production style. One of my favourite tracks that I think perfectly showcases this style is Common's track, Faithful. Off his album B. And the original sample for that track was taken from DJ Rogers' Faithful to the End. A soulful ballad released back in 1975. He pulled around 12 main chops from the original, proving that great moments can be scattered throughout a song. And the track itself didn't have a steady tempo, so it's likely he chopped around the kicks and the snares to kind of give it that consistent groove. And there's only 3 main chops in the chorus, intertwining the soulful vocals and some horn stabs. The verses is where it gets a little bit more intricate with smaller chops. And I think that really unique guitar tone is actually a guitar through a talk box, which was originally popularized by Peter Frampton in the 70s, but you might know it better from Tupac's California Love. Kanye then sped up the original from 136 to 182 BPM. The original song features some really rich instrumentation and some beautiful vocals. So for my sample, I wanted to capture that same energy and feeling of the original DJ Rogers sample and then use that as inspiration to make my own. So let me walk you through the process of how I did that in Logic. So first thing I wanted to do was to listen to the original and hear what instruments were in there. I wrote those down. So we had a piano, a bass, drums, trumpet, vocals. There was guitar in the background a little bit. And then there's obviously that lead guitar or that guitar for a talk box. So first things first, I brought that original sample into Logic, because I really like the groove. And what I want to do is use Logic's stem separator to get the drum groove from that. And then I can make my own drums out of that. And I then opened up Addictive Drums, and I'm using the vintage dry kit here. I changed a few things. I tweaked it a little bit to make it sound how I wanted. And once I had that, I just played that in by hand, just kind of following the groove of the original sample. Really simple. And like I said before, that's not on the grid at all. So it's not quite 136, but it's somewhere around there. Next thing though, came the piano, and I'm using the Shearwater piano for this, which is a really nice sounding piano. I tweaked one of the presets that I really like just to get the tone that I wanted. And it's a really like bluesy progression. Quite simple. With a nice little turnaround there, similar to the sample. With some nice little twinkly bits at the top as well. I'm not a pianist, but you know, I just messed around until I had something I liked the sound of. And then following that, I wanted to record some bass. So I'm using my Epiphone viola bass for this. And I watched a video the other day about Motown bassist James Jamerson and how he used to dampen his strings with a sponge. So I did that on my bass, and it gave me this really nice sound that you can hear. Kind of like a double bass a little bit. And then next up, we had the Rhodes just backing up the piano. That's not playing the first chord of each 4 bars, but it's backing up the other chords. Just to add a little bit more weight. And then after that, again, the guitar, just to add another texture and to layer those chords. And I'm using the Corey Wong Archetype amp, which is one of my favorites for this. And that's got like a wah pedal on there, like an auto filter. Next up, I wanted to add some trumpets. And with these trumpets, I had a sample which I'd kind of chopped up. And then I'm pitching that to fit with what I've already got. Obviously, I'm not a trumpet player, so I can't record those in myself, which would be amazing. Yeah, super simple, just those 3 notes. And that trumpet's pan left and right. And then I've got my vocals, sing a very simple line. I just made up some random lyrics. And with these, again, watching that Motown video, they were talking about how the vocals were really distorted. They pushed them really hard. So I've added some distortion with the RC20, and you'll hear that when that plays. Really added some nice character to the vocals. You're just calling my name. And then you've got the BVs as well. Really simple, just some oohs basically. And that's pretty much it for the first half of the song. Really nice, really soulful. And I think what's really good about it is it's changing up every bar. So it's not just the same thing going over and over again. So it's really good for sampling. For the second half, I got rid of the vocals, got rid of the trumpet, and just added this like lead guitar, kind of mimicking that Talkbox guitar. And that's kind of following the melody that's already there. Just building on that. I've got varied speed on that just to like double it and make it sound wider, which I actually spoke about in my Beatles video from last week. And also an auto filter, which is giving it that kind of wah effect. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Next thing, I need to bounce that out and I can work with that as a sample in a track. And now I've got that final sample that I'm happy with. It's time to flip that into a Kanye-esque kind of 2000s beat. So the first thing I did was drag the sample into Serato sample and chop that up. I then doubled the speed and I also pitched it up 7 semitones. And you can hear the vocals are now kind of more chipmunky. Obviously, it's a male vocal and it's lower. It's not quite the same effect as with the Kanye track. And then I had 2 sections that I chopped. So this first one's got the vocals. And this one's got that lead guitar. Similar to that Kanye track, with the chorus and the verse. Next up, I had this drum loop, and I think it's from the Dilla track. I chopped that up a little bit. And then I layered that with a kick and a snare and some other little drum parts. Just to thicken that up. And then melodically, the only other part that I added was a bass, again, just to thicken the bass up because the sample was so rich in its instrumentation already. Just playing along with the bass line that's actually already in the sample. And yeah, I really love the groove of this. If you're inspired to try this out, you can check out my Soulful Volume 1 sample pack, which is full of song starters, perfect to inspire you when you're starting your next track. And I've also got a free sample pack full of one-shots, midis, and loops, perfect for you to try out my samples. And if you're a producer or a musician, I've just started my own Discord, which I hope will become the perfect place for you to come and collaborate, share your music, ask questions, and just learn about the process. If you'd like to join, the link is in the description. Likewise with the sample packs. And finally, please let me know in the comments what sort of videos you'd like to see next, whether that's producer breakdowns, whether that's me breaking down samples, whether that's production techniques or anything else, and I will see you next time.